So hello guys, welcome to new video of politics.
Big news out of the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of the United States of America just issued a rare statement on President Trump's call to impeach the judge.
And here the Chief Justice writes, "For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose."
Man, I gotta say, even Chief Justice John Roberts, the very guy Trump used to brag was his guy, just publicly slapped him across the face on live TV. This orange crybaby in the Oval Office is having a full-blown meltdown, screaming for a judge to be impeached because he lost in court again. I mean, he's not just angry, he's absolutely terrified. And right now, while his MAGA cult is spiraling into total panic, the Capitol is already erupting in chaos because they know their dear leader is about to be dragged kicking and screaming out of power. This is the moment the Trump era finally collapses. Man, you got to see this footage right now.
Let's go!
This is the moment the storming of the Capitol was launched.
Move! Move!
The time, 12:53. The first Trump supporters reached the barricades set up in front of the Capitol, demanding to be let through. A handful of cops make a brave stand, trying to hold the line, but the angry mob overwhelms them.
I mean, here we go again. These are the same people who scream "back the blue" every single day, yet they're steamrolling cops because their orange crybaby leader is finally about to get dragged out of the White House. You can literally feel the panic. They know Trump is finished, and they're completely losing their minds. Absolute chaos unfolding right outside the Capitol as we speak.
It's worth going back to some of these oral arguments in April because we to a degree saw some of this coming, with the justices already suggesting presidents need some immunity. So how does this now play out going forward?
Well, this is in no short sense, a big win for Donald Trump. It means delay. We already knew that a trial on these charges would be unlikely before the presidential election. Now it's all but impossible based on today's decision. And I want to just quote for you, it's from the dissent here. "This is a Supreme Court that is sharply divided on this issue along ideological lines. This was a 6-3 decision. The conservatives issuing that decision that Terry just outlined. The liberals in this case dissenting very, very sharply in stark language. In fact, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said today that the court gives Donald Trump all the immunity that he asked for and more. She accuses the court of an atextual, ahistorical, and unjustifiable immunity test that, in her view, puts the president above the law."
After watching those scenes outside the Capitol, the barricades coming down, the cops getting overwhelmed, I need to take you back to the exact moment this firestorm actually started. Look, I've been covering the Supreme Court and Washington politics for over 20 years, and I can tell you what happened on the 18th of March 2025 was genuinely rare. President Trump went on Truth Social that morning, furious that Judge James Boasberg had temporarily blocked his deportation flights under the Alien Enemies Act. He called the judge a radical left lunatic and flat out demanded this judge should be impeached. Just hours later, Chief Justice John Roberts, the conservative lion Trump once proudly called "my justice," issued a public statement so blunt it stopped everyone in their tracks. Roberts wrote, and I'm quoting him directly, "For more than 2 centuries it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. In my 2 decades watching this institution, I've seen justices push back quietly, but a direct, on-the-record rebuke from the Chief Justice himself, that almost never happens. It was a public slap, and it carried real weight. Think about the history here. In 237 years, only one Supreme Court justice has ever been impeached, Samuel Chase in 1804. He was acquitted, and that episode basically set the gold standard that you don't impeach judges simply because you dislike their rulings. Roberts was reminding Trump and the country of that unbroken tradition. Yet here we are. The same man who once bragged he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it is now throwing tantrums because a federal judge dared to say, "not so fast." And that single statement from Roberts in March, it was the opening act. Today's 5-4 ruling is the closing scene. The orange crybaby who thought the courts were his personal playground just got the message loud and clear. The guardrails are still there. Now, let's talk about what that ruling actually means for Trump going forward.
Hundreds follow, swarming the grounds. Capitol Police are powerless. 1:15, flag-waving Trump loyalists fill the steps and balconies. They even scale the walls.
I can see at least half a dozen protesters scaling, literally climbing the walls of the Capitol.
The thugs smash windows using fists and a shield. This guy used a metal barrier on a door. 1:33, they're in. TV anchors watching it unfold live are stunned.
All right, let's slow things down for a second because this is where the real story kicks in. We just watched that raw footage of the Capitol turning into a battlefield again, and I got to tell you, those Trump supporters aren't out there freezing their tails off for no reason. They're panicking because they know the Supreme Court just dropped a bomb that could end the Trump era for good. But to understand why this ruling hit like a freight train, we need to rewind just a little. It's worth going back to some of these oral arguments in April because we, to a degree, saw some of this coming with...
Okay guys, this story is absolutely insane. So Trump basically went after a federal judge because he lost his court again, and this time even Chief Justice John Roberts stepped in publicly, and trust me, that almost never happens. Robert literally reminded everyone that impeachment is not supposed to happen just because the president does not like a judge ruling. That alone was a huge movement because Trump used to break the track that Robert was his guy, but then things got even crazier. The video starts showing Capitol jaws getting pushed down, people screaming, police overwhelmed, and the narrator is basically painting this picture that Trump's supporters are panicking because the legal pressure is finally catching up to him. Then the biggest twist comes later. The narrator explains how Trump thought the Supreme Court immunity ruling was this massive victory for him, like he was untouchable. But according to the video, the same court later turned around and basically reminded him that he is not above the law.